Welcome. This is Stories, Wisdom, and Recipes. Happy springtime to all. What's up? What's the buzz? Tell me what's a-happening. Ratzinger, for Christ's sake. We are on the road that seems to become more and more narrow from DC to VC, from shining sea to shining sea. I don't know about you, but it doesn't feel too wise to me. But again, that's just one man's voice, just me. I know the blossoms are filling our streets, alleys and avenues with crisp and succulent color, with perfume delightful toward June visions of warm nights on the porch and sunrise over tussled sheets and morning bird song. How come the neighborhood dog keeps leaving warm, pungent messages on my lawn? Spring has begun, thankfully, because it brings the pagan out in me. My name is Lawrence Pugliese, and once again, welcome to Stories, Wisdom, and Recipes. Today's guests are Bernie McGurl, Senor Sam Stavala, and John Phillips. And now, some music from John Phillips.
My times knowing everybody's business, reading in between the lines. In this town is where I seem to stand. It seems I'm going nowhere, but I hope to leave one day. In this town we speak of stories past. We all have had the moment, raise our brown glass. In this town we all know your face. We all share our stories, talk at the same place. In this town I seem to grow so bored, so just keep the southern flowing now until I hit the floor. Please don't kick me out, I need to forget about the times that I have seen that haven't happened yet. In this town story sitting on the front page. In this town we just can't get away, so keep the bottle open for all of us through night and day. In this town I seem to grow so poor, so just keep the southern flowing now until I hit the floor. Please don't kick me out, I need to forget about the times that I have seen haven't happened yet. In this town I need a little more. In this town I seem to grow so bored, so just keep the southern flowing now until I hit the floor. Please don't kick me out, I need to forget about the times that I have seen that haven't happened yet. In this town I need a little more. In this town I have grown so poor, all my comfort's gone and I can't afford the floor. One more drink and I will promise to forget that you never meant to hurt me. We are still our friends. In this town I need a little more. In this town
John Phillips. Yes, indeed. John Phillips here on Stories, Wisdom, and Recipes. Thank you for watching. Now, before we get to our featured guest, Mr. Bernie McGurl, the Executive Director of the Lackawanna River Corridor Association, I want you to check out a cartoon. I think Melissa has it ready on the overhead contraption in the back, by our friend Timothy Kreider. Great cartoonist in the United States of America and beyond. This is called Busted, and I guess in tune with springtime weather, this kind of, watch yourselves, guys, is basically what I'm saying. This might happen to you. All right. So, how are you? You enjoying the weather? I hope so. Right now it's in the 80s. We're sweating a bit here in the Children's Library, downtown Scranton. By the time you watch this program, though, it's supposed to be cooling off. Don't fret. The warm weather will be coming back soon enough. And to talk about nature and this wonderful weather and how it affects our lives, we're going to focus on the mindset, the experience of Mr. Bernie McGurl. And Bernie has a lot of events to talk about, and we're also going to pick his brain about his philosophy in terms of the natural environment. So without further ado, Mr. Bernie McGurl.
Thanks, Larry.
Nice to have you here.
Pleased to be here.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. Before we get started, I want to give people a little bit of an understanding of where you're from, where you were born, where you were raised.
Yeah. Well, I was born and raised in the Lackawanna Valley in northeastern Pennsylvania, right here, and in the town of the little town of Dunmore, particularly.
Yes, that's where I'm from.
And but my dad was from Jessup. My mom's family was from Dunmore by way of Dixon City, and I've lived in Dunmore, Clark Summit, Madisonville, Jessup, and I currently reside in Scranton. I've been in Scranton for about 20 years now.
Up
And
on
I
the
love
hill?
it. Love the city. Up in the hill.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Love the city of Scranton. It's got a special place in my heart, and we have a great community here. We have a wonderful environment. It's taken a lot of hits over the years, 150 years of coal mining, but it's rebounding, and I think it's got the capacity to sustain our current population and a slightly growing, hopefully a growing population and economy into the future.
Well, you're hitting sort of some important buzzwords to me, at least. Industrialization, basically sustainability.
Yeah.
And before we get into that, I want to get a little insight as to how, when you were a child, you viewed the surrounding area. When you were born and when you were being raised in Dunmore, what was it like for you?
Well, it was fun. It was a tight-knit community. It was a place you didn't lock your doors. A lot like Grover's Corners, New Hampshire, in that quintessential American play. But it was a great place to grow up. But sometimes it smelled like sulfur and rotten eggs from the coal dumps out at the Marvin, and down in the Baker Colliery, and up in the Addy Creek dump up in Oliphant. And air quality could be a real challenge around here in the 1950s and 60s with all those piles of burning coal waste. The Lackawanna River itself and Roaring Brook and many of the streams flowing into the river were heavily polluted with runoff from abandoned mine lands and runoff from our municipal sewers. So we played ball down at the Greenridge Teener League down at Amelia Avenue off Market Street, and you hit a home run into the river. Everybody said it was an automatic out. Nobody wanted to go in after it.
Oh, man.
It was a foul ball, and so the river was
foul, not in the sense of
in many ways, yeah. So the river was it was a real presence in my life as a kid. I mean, what kid doesn't want to play along the river? And Roaring Brook especially as well. I mean, up above Dunmore, it was pretty clean. The reservoirs. My friends in the water company, everybody swam in the reservoirs when we were kids.
That was a normal pastime.
Yeah, and fishing. up there picking huckleberries and hunting on Music Mountain. I mean, everybody in the valley grew up doing that. It was, you know, it was something we thought it was always going to be there. I think one salient event in my young life that I remember were two back-to-back hurricanes in 54 and 55, Hurricane Hazel and Hurricane Diane. I had started kindergarten and first grade in those years, and we couldn't go to school until much later in the school year. I think school started in mid to late October. Around the time the World Series was going on, we had our first day in school because of all the damage caused by those hurricanes. And I remember the water system was shot, the reservoirs, and they didn't have filtration at the time. So people lined up on the roads going up Music Mountain or out through the Notch to get spring water coming off the mountains. And that went on for months and months. So that made an impression on me. The folks that were whose houses were destroyed up in Petersburg and down in the South Side flats. It was pretty impressive for a little kid to see all that, and it always stayed with me. Between that and my interest in hunting and fishing and the outdoors, and in the history of the mining and railroading industries that affected our valley, I gradually built up an interest in you know, what had happened, how it had happened. I was fortunate my dad had an interest in these subjects as well. He was a member of the Lackawanna Historic Society, and he would edit the newsletter a couple of times a year. We'd be down, I'd accompany him to the Historic Society. So I had a lot of time in the collection of the Historic Society and did a lot of reading when I was 8, 9, 10 years old about our community. So that gave me a lot of perspective and background on it that I think maybe other kids didn't have.
Did I give you added respect, or did it also make you realize that what you were seeing around you in terms of environmental degradation wasn't necessarily the way it was supposed to be? Did it give you an extra insight knowing the history?
Yeah, I think it did, but not in that way. I mean, certainly it wasn't the way I saw it in, you know, visiting friends or relatives in other communities where they didn't have mining. Visiting cousins down in New Jersey, down in the Philadelphia suburbs, whatever. You know, you didn't have the kind of impact. You didn't notice it, but certainly it's there and in any part of those industrial parts of those communities. But you really noticed it here. And I think, you know, you gradually said to yourself, well, that's the way it is. I think a lot of people around here, they knew no other way. It's you know, came to be expected that the coal company would put a culm dump up in the field there over a 20 or 30 year period. And I think over a couple generations, people got inured to that.
Right.
Maybe they didn't like it, but you know, the coal companies exerted a very powerful political and economic influence on our community and the Commonwealth, and so.
Well, the economic benefits, you know, couldn't be shrugged off.
No, they were jobs,
So,
and people needed jobs. I think growing up in the 50s and 60s around here, you know, we witnessed the transition from the coal economy as coal started to go out, and the Hudson Coal Company went out, the Glen Alden Coal Company, the Pennsylvania Coal Company, they went all out of business between the late 50s and the early 60s. The Knox Mine disaster really was the straw that broke the camel's back on that industry, and you know, left all the burning hulks of waste, and a lot of the federal funding that came into our community in those years just had to go to repair the initial major damages, put out those mine fires, stabilize the underground situations in our neighborhoods where homes were caving in, buildings were caving in.
That money wasn't earmarked for progress. It was to get us back to a normal state.
Sure, we couldn't benefit from, you know, nice aesthetics and money coming in to fund Naog Park in the 1960s, because the money that we got had to go underground, or it had to put out these fires.
Oh.
So I think we're at the point where we still need a tremendous amount of federal and state assistance because of the damage to our local environment, and it's some of the activities that our organization is involved in is with mine reclamation relating to the water quality and the environmental quality of the community.
Now, before we get, we're talking about the Lackawanna River Corridor Association, your organization, and also it's Earth Day coming up this weekend. So happy Earth Day to all who are celebrating that significant event. What brought you, though, Bernie? I mean, I'm getting semblances of it from our conversation up to this point. But what brought you to the point where you had a strong interest in the natural environment? All of this brought you to say, okay, I'm going to do something with my life in
Well, it was
reclaiming.
Yeah, I guess so. I've been involved in a lot of community issues over a 20-some year period. I was out of the community for a while in the early 70s. I worked in the railroad industry out in the Midwest and traveled, spent some time in Europe, and lived up in Vermont for a bit and out in California. But I came back here, basically I got homesick. I missed the place, and I had a lot of friends who were still here, friends all over the world, but I was drawn back here.
How old were you at that point?
Oh, I think it was about 25, 26 when I came back into the community. And I had a background in history and literature and political science at the university, and I had also attended Johnson Institute. It was at the time it was Johnson School. I studied woodworking and carpentry and construction crafts. So when I got back into town, I began construction business. I was building homes and renovating buildings, and there certainly were a lot of old buildings around here. So I was doing that a number of years in the late 70s and into the early 80s. Did a lot of salvaging of Victorian woodwork from buildings that were being demolished in the community, and recycled them into decorations in other buildings. Did a lot of restoration woodwork.
And then did you start the LRCA?
That was in the late 1980s. Because of my interest in the rail industry, I got involved with the community task force working on Steamtown, working on the master plan for a Steamtown historic site. Just as a volunteer, just attended meetings and offered my 2 cents every once in a while. Then a group of folks got together, Ray Angeli, who's now president of Lackawanna College, Len Altier, family runs Altier Jewelry. Len's out of town now, but he was very active in the early days. Alex Kamide, and group of us got together, realized in the interaction with the National Park Service at Steamtown that there were other opportunities to build out from having a National Historic Site in the community. And that led to a series of public meetings in the spring and summer of 1987 that resulted in the formation of the Lackawanna River Corridor Association as a nonprofit, tax-exempt organization for our community, for our watershed. So I got involved in that and became one of the incorporators of the organization, and served on the board of directors for about 4 years.
Now, when you come to certain issues through this organization, or you also have an arm or some an affiliation with the Land Trust. What's the name of the land
Lackawanna Valley Conservancy. Yeah, it's
through
an
these
affiliate.
organizations, when you're focusing on issues, do you come to those issues with the perspective of a conservationist or of a preservationist, more so? How would you consider yourself, a preservationist or a conservationist?
Well, I'm a relativist.
A relativist.
Yeah, I don't like terms that bind. I think we have to be flexible in our philosophy and make a determination in a deliberative way on whatever issue we're looking at. What's the best course of action? How are we going to develop the resources to address the particular issue?
So sometimes economic gain is the more prevalent issue. Other times, the preservation of the natural environment is a more prevalent issue,
But
depending
yeah,
on the situation.
it depends on the value. I mean, we're working with a real quilt work of resources in our community. So, for instance, if I'm working on a piece of property or something along the river where there's a huge pile of coal waste, I'm going to treat that and look at the opportunities to to restore that or do something with it, what is ever most appropriate, in a different way than I would look at what are the issues relating to pristine wetland up in Covington Township that's part of the headwaters of Roaring Brook, or over in Roaring Brook Township, one of the feeder streams into Stafford Meadow Brook, coming off Scrub Oak Mountain that goes into Lake Scranton, or the Scrub Oak Barrens, Pitch Pine Barrens, and Huckleberry Patches on top of Moosic Mountain. Those are primary and essential natural resources that need to be protected in a very strong way. So I'm going to look at those differently than the resources down here in the valley.
Brownfields.
The brownfields, yeah. We have a mix of brownfields and greenfields. So I think we look at the value that's inherent in the resource and then develop our strategy, develop our approach, bring our partnerships together that will look at the highest and best means of both protecting the values and protecting the essential quantities and qualities of that resource, as well as how we can maximize an opportunity by taking an abandoned or a piece of abandoned mine land, which doesn't mean that it's been abandoned. Somebody obviously owns most of the land in the community. It's not being utilized to its best extent. How can we look at ways to enhance the economic vitality of a piece of property? While we restore the mine lands, we're going to also clean up the environment. We're going to recontour that totally destroyed piece of a watershed, and so the water that runs through it will be channeled through a stormwater system that will hopefully, as the stormwater management gets to be more sophisticated, deliver clean water into the river or contribute in a much more positive way to the hydrology of our valley.
So there's an economic gain from redeveloping that brownfield,
Exactly.
as well as
Yeah.
a gain or a sort of healing to the natural environment that was in the past.
We've got
abused.
thousands of acres of abandoned mine lands in the Lackawanna Valley, and some of these lands will grow scrubby trees, birch and aspen will grow on some of the piles of stripping overburden. But the piles of coal waste that are called the culm dumps,
Right.
they are so acidic and so contaminated with metal elements like aluminum and manganese and iron and sulfur compounds that are mixed in with the waste and coal rock, the coal and waste rock, that we really need to get a major program to deal with those sites. And I think there's a couple sites now that I'd refer to that I think there's some good programs that are going on. The Marvin site that's adjacent to 81, that was one of those dumps that was on fire. There's coal waste in there. Yeah, it's a KOZ property, and several of the property owners are cooperating, F&L Realty and Pegnotti Coal Company, and they're developing that site, but they're taking that coal waste out of there. They're working with the Northampton Fuels Corporation. There's a number of other sites like that where we have these large piles of waste material that does have a value. It has a fuel value to it.
Who's responsible for that waste? If it's been abandoned, although there probably is a way to track down ownership. Does it end up in many cases, maybe it's different from situation to situation, does it end up in many cases that the taxpayer has to foot the bill to get rid of all that?
Yeah, that relates to the Surface Mine Reclamation Act. It's a federal act that was passed by Congress in 1977.
Carter,
and everything that was abandoned before that act was enacted is under the jurisdiction of that act. After that, anybody that's doing coal mining has to have a permit and is held responsible for it.
So
But
it won't happen
before
again, yeah.
1977, many of those responsible parties are corporations that no longer exist. They went poof in 1960, 1964, and they just don't exist.
So we're sitting around on our front porch looking at cullen dumps that nobody
Yeah,
wants to take responsibility for.
Yeah. Well, somebody else owns the land, but it's not their responsibility that the Hudson Coal Company caused that calamity to occur between 1840 and 1957. That's a fact of history that we can't change. So how do we deal with that? That's what we're looking at. And there are some resources like the KOZ program, the referendum that's going to be on the ballot in a primary election next month to allow the state to borrow up to $800 million. That will fund Growing Greener again. The governor and the legislature have been going back and forth about that. But
Is it a good policy in your view?
Yeah, it's an excellent policy.
It's something we should invest in as
Yeah.
Pennsylvanians?
Yes, it is. The Ridge administration had established the Growing Greener program, and this is a very similar funding mechanism that's being proposed by the Rendell administration, and I'm hopeful that it will pass. We have a lot of opportunity to fund projects up here through the Bureau of Abandoned Mine Reclamation, which is an agency of the Department of Environmental Protection. On the federal level, that surface mine reclamation program that I talked about has to be reauthorized by Congress. President Bush has not provided enough directed leadership on it. I don't think he's really paying attention to that issue, and Congress has been authorizing it on an interim basis every 6 months, and our local congressional representatives, Congressman Kanjorski, Congressman Sherwood, as well as Senators Specter and Santorum, have been very helpful in strongly pursuing and urging their colleagues in Congress to continue those authorizations. But that's something that they, I'm sure, would not want to have to continue to do all the time.
No,
So
that
we
seems like
really
there'd be a lot of waste
really need
energy.
Congress to continue the enactment of that. It's funded by a royalty fee that's paid by the active mining companies that are still engaged in the business. Many of them are out in the West, in the Rocky Mountains. They are so there's an east-west divide in Congress over why should the western states pay for reclamation work going on in the east?
And these are old problems that we have nothing to do about.
Yeah, but it's something that's tied to the industry, not
Right.
where the industry is located.
I want to ask, we have a couple more minutes, Bernie, and I want to make sure I get a few other questions on the table. Once again, you're watching Stories, Wisdom, and Recipes. My name is Lawrence Pugliese. It's a pleasure to have you with us. We have Bernie McGurl in honor of the natural environment and Earth Day and springtime here at the table, the executive director of the Lackawanna River Corridor Association. And Bernie, you have a couple events coming up through that great organization. Why don't you give us a little information about those events, and then I'm going to ask you a couple more questions before we
Okay,
go
Larry.
to John Phillips once again.
Well, it's not all hard work and mine reclamation and bulldozers along the Lackawanna River. We like to have fun, and we have a fun event. It started actually in 1973 as the Lackawanna River Canoeathon, and it began simply as a canoe race from Archbald to Scranton, and it's gone on every year since 1973. We took it over in 1987, and we've been conducting it and sponsoring it and operating it ever since 1987. We decided to grow it as an event. It initially was people came, they got their canoe, they paddled down the river, they went home. We've turned it into a day-long event. We call it Riverfest, and there's a whole variety of activities. We've got the canoe race. If you're an expert canoer, if you have your own canoe or kayak, you can get launched at our Archbald launch site. It's a timed athletic event. We do award ribbons, gold, silver, and bronze ribbons in about 6 categories. 2 adults, 2 men, 2 women, men-women mixed team, an adult-child team, and we have a single ribbon for kayaks or single canoes. It's a multiplicity of races, really. There's a number of opportunities to win with the different classes that we have. And for folks that just want to paddle or think they can race and want to rent a canoe, or kayak. We do rent kayaks now. We bring Kittatinny canoes in from the Upper Delaware. Ruth Jones's fellows, they bring in about 100 canoes and kayaks on the trailers, and folks can rent a canoe from us by pre-registering. We can't guarantee there'll be a canoe or a kayak there the day of the event. If you'd like one, you can go on our website. It's www.lrca.org. And click on Canoeathon registration and download the registration form. If you'd like to give us a call, our office is in the North Scranton branch of the Public Library up in North Scranton, and we can be reached at 207-7608, and we'll pop one of our newsletters in the mail to you, hot off the press. And for our members that are watching, you'll probably have gotten this by now. We're sorry we were about a week late. We had a snafu on the CD that we sent over to the printers, and took us a couple days to straighten that out.
A public apology to all the members.
Yeah.
How's that?
But your newsletter is on the way, so you should have received it by now. Also in the newsletter, like I said,
you have the regatta.
Well, before I get to the regatta, our second launch site is at Mello Park, Robert Mello Park in Blakely. So you get a good run down to Scranton. Our finish line site is a new location this year. We're going to be down at the Olive Street flood control levee along Olive Street over to the Mulberry Street Bridge, right down by the Icebox, by the new Scranton High School Memorial Stadium. There's plenty of parking all over down there. You can park wherever you'd park to go to a football game and walk up Olive Street, and we're right across from the Icebox. We'll have tents. The showmobile will be there. We've got 7 bands playing during the course of the day.
Excellent.
We'll have some information out on the bands. I know just off the top of my head we've got the Hellbenders, which is a blues band. Some of the guys in it are attorneys and physicians by day, but by night they're blues artists. They're really good blues, rock and roll, rhythm blues. We got the Hellbenders, a whole bunch of folks from the Blues Society of Northeastern Pennsylvania, the Front Porch Rockers, and I know I'm forgetting a few. The Dunmore Kelly Band.
They can figure it out.
We'll have entertainment all day long. We've got a Mike Grady, who's a stand-up comedian. We're going to have a River Spirit ceremony down there at 11 o'clock to get things started off.
This is on the 7th of May.
The 7th of May. And we've also got the regatta. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you got to check out the regatta. We, in fact, would like to challenge all the viewers on Channel 61 to get a boat, bring it down. We're going to be launching the regatta in back of the farmers market by the Middle Street pump station at 3 o'clock. If you bring, it's absolutely free. There's no charge, and we are giving prize certificates for several varieties of prizes in the regatta. We want you to decorate a boat, a rowboat, a canoe, a sailboat, anything that you think you can fit in the river. Make a boat. We will allow, in deference to President Bush, nuclear-powered vessels.
Isn't that nuclear?
No, it's not nuclear. Nuclear.
Oh, okay.
Now, we won't allow a nuclear submarine, but we will allow a nuclear submarine.
Okay.
So if you know where you can get your hands on a nuclear submarine, we'll allow it in the race, as well as steamboats, but no motorboats.
I'm getting a sign from these guys. And so far, we've had a great conversation, and we're not done yet. Mm-hmm. We've had a great conversation about the natural environment, about the River Fest. Mm-hmm. We've kind of bashed the Pope and the President, mm-hmm. So I'm sure viewership is going to go right through the roof. I don't want to cut you off, but we have time constraints. I wish we could talk longer. Mm-hmm. The Riverfest, one more time, is May 7th. All this great information. People can call your office.
Check it out on our website.
Check out the website.
lrca.org. We've also got a duck race. We're selling duck tickets. You could win $500. The duck race is going to happen at 5 o'clock. This will be the wrap-up. You can get your duck tickets at Everything Natural in Clark Summit, Pierre's Pizza in North Scranton, Brunetti's Pizza in Greenridge, Starbucks in Dixon City, Northern Lights right here in downtown Scranton, Ebersol's gas station up in the hill section, or you can get them at Steamtown Mall at the Duck Sales Kiosk right by the elevator every weekend between now and May 7th.
I got to say one thing, Bernie. If you use the same energy and diligence and perseverance in all of your pursuits through the Lackawanna River Corridor Association mm-hmm. to protect our natural environment, as you showcased here on this show, we're going to be all right.
Thank you, Larry.
Appreciate you for being here.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
Look for everybody out there May 7th.
Well, we're going to go to John Phillips in 1 second, but now can you do this in just 2 words? Mm-hmm. 2 words if you can, because I got to get this out of you. At present, What concerns you the most in the world?
In the world,
Give me one word on that.
I think energy sustainability, what we're doing, as well as population sustainability.
It's a lot of hyphens there. And now, what inspires you the most?
Kids.
Kids.
The young people. Not that I'm not young myself, but I see a lot of energy in our community, in the youth of our community, the younger citizens in our community. There's a lot of creativity here, a lot of drive and energy, and I'm optimistic about it. And I have fun hanging out with folks and sharing my experiences with them and learning from the younger citizens in our community. Because often cases they'll bring a much more acute perspective on some of the issues that I'm dealing with. So we've all got a lot to learn.
Excellent. Well put, sir. Well put.
Thanks, Larry.
Now, once again, our friend and music aficionado on today's program, John Phillips, with a tune entitled Rain. Enjoy.
There's an image outside the window. I can't make out the face. It's behind a memory years ago. I tried so hard to replace. My hands remain so empty. These days always fall short. Somewhere in my chest again, it always seems to hold. So here's another chapter from a story with no end, and I can't bear to read anymore. It looks like rain, and it's for me. Such a shame that I can't live inside you and swallow the air you breathe. It looks like rain, so lock the door. No one's ever knocking, they're all asleep, trying to be ignored. It looks like rain. There's a voice that can't stop talking. I'm the only one to be seen. This faded picture speaks out again as a distant dream. Walls are red and naked. Should I wait or go away? Living in the past, a painted image. Here's is white and gray. So here's another chapter from a story with no end, and I can't bear to read anymore. It looks like rain, and it's for me. Such a shame that I can't live inside you and swallow the air you breathe. It looks like rain, so lock the door. No one
Very good.
nice
Very
job.
good.
It's really hot here.
Yeah, it is. When you're strumming and singing that powerfully, I imagine you would sweat a bit.
No, just a little.
Now, before we get to Senor Stavala and Chicken Marsala, hey, that rhymes. I want to give you the opportunity to share any projects, upcoming gigs you have going on.
Well, I'm involved in a couple of projects. I play with a cover band known as UUU throughout probably a 5-6 state area along the East Coast. I have an original project of my own, various musicians throughout the area, most of which are my best friends and some that I've known from high school. And the band's name is called R After. And my drummer's currently living out in Los Angeles, and I've been going back and forth between here and LA. And we have a executive producer out in Los Angeles that works with us, that's up in the studio right now recording the CD with us. And otherwise, like, I play acoustically by myself usually Mondays and Tuesdays at Corkscrews at Dunmore.
Mondays and Tuesdays at Corkscrews in Dunmore, starting about 9, 10 o'clock?
Like about 10:30,
10:30 or
a little
so?
later.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right, for all the night owls.
Yeah, it's an interesting time. That'll definitely put it.
Well, yeah, I know the people who own Corkscrews, good men.
Oh,
Good guys.
I've known them for about probably a year and a half now. I've been playing up there, and they've always treated me really well, and everybody just has a great time. So
Well, I've been hearing good things about you. Wish you luck.
thank you very much.
And I'm sure your mother is watching right now, really proud.
Yeah, I'm sure she is as well.
All right, well, we'll be back to you in about 15 minutes or so with another tune, all right?
Cool.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
John Phillips, local talent. That was an original song called Rain. And before that, earlier in the program, that tune, I don't think I gave the title, was This Town. But now in this town, even though it's not raining, we're going to talk about Chicken Marsala with Senor Stavala.
Chicken Marsala. You had a lot of talent here today.
You're the biggest of them all.
Well, I don't know, but...
No, I mean physically.
Well, that could be. That could be.
I couldn't help it.
There's no doubt about that.
You want to give me a scuffle?
No.
I deserve it for that one.
But what time is that first set that you?
10:30. You want to go out?
Hey, 10:30. That's my bedtime. I can't.
First glass of
That's
Jameson is on me. I'll buy
Yeah.
it.
Well, I'll think about it. If I can get a little nap time, maybe.
Yeah, that's what I do. I take a nap.
Make it 10:30 set.
Well, you used to run around the clubs in New York City when you were
Well,
a young man, right? Birdland and all
I
that.
was a little younger then. A little younger. You know?
I think you're still very young at heart. And
Yeah.
be that as it may, what do you got for us?
But today, in honor of Bernie being here,
You guys are old friends, right?
Oh, Bernie. I tell you, he's one of the nicest men I ever met. But we brought in the dish that we're going to feature here today.
Oh.
We want to be sure that the crew has a little taste of it.
Oh, God.
That chicken marsala.
There it is on the screen, ladies and gentlemen. Mark is trying to clue in on there. They're not plastic, they're real.
Yeah, that's a
smell 'em.
nice dish, and it's it can be easily changed to veal marsala if you like to go with the veal. It's basically the same recipe. You just change the from
meat.
the chicken to the veal. That's all. Yeah. And as far as marsala is concerned, there's two types. There's the sweet and the dry. Now, with this dish, I use the dry.
The dry.
Well, as a matter of fact, all the marsala dishes I make, I use dry.
Can I have a piece of that?
You certainly can, Lorenzo.
I'd like to try it. I don't have a fork. I don't have a napkin.
Well, there's some forks in
Doesn't
that other...
I'd like to try. Oh,
Thanks,
my
Mark.
God. Thank you, Mark. Thank you. Oh, wow.
But a little taste for everybody.
Oh, thank you, Bernie.
Thank you, my friend.
This is awesome. You are
It's
amazing.
just a little treat. I mean, like I said, my senora, my wife has been after me.
She's awesome.
You got to bring something to those people that you're down there every month talking about this dish, talking about that dish.
Do you know how to do the Heimlich maneuver just in case?
Yeah,
Okay.
I like it.
Because I might eat this so fast it lodges in my throat.
No. Piace.
Ah, sì. Mi piace.
Good.
Mi piace.
Enjoy it. Yeah, but I go with the dry marsala as opposed to the sweet. And the story with that is, the first time I made it, I went to the liquor store to buy a bottle of marsala wine. I just grabbed what was on the rack without even realizing it. It was the dry marsala.
Before that, you always use sweet?
No.
it was the
I
first time you
didn't.
said,
I
okay.
didn't know. I was a novice. I was just So I grabbed it. I made the. I think that might have been a Ville Marsala. I don't know what dish it was, but I used the dry. Was satisfied with the results, and consequently, I stayed with it and never strayed. But I know a lot of people who use the sweet. So it's whatever you like. Next time, maybe I'll try the sweet. And I got something else for you, Lorenzo. I don't know if you like hot peppers.
Oh, man.
Huh?
Yeah, I like hot
Those
peppers.
were done in our kitchen with the help of my beautiful wife. And we put them up last year.
How hot are these?
I don't know. I don't think they're too hot.
Well, we'll see. Did you set me up?
No, I didn't set you up. I wouldn't do that to you, Lorenzo.
Well, I already insulted you once today.
Well,
I can't believe I did that. I feel guilty bad.
nah.
I do. I mean, that was just like, I couldn't help it. It was for the sake of the entertainment.
You like the hot peppers?
I love
that
the
you
hot
just said?
peppers. Yeah.
You fry eggs, you throw a couple in. You fry some bologna, you throw them in.
I've heard, because I've never really gotten a hangover because I'm not that kind of drinker. But I've heard that if you wake up in the morning and you have that taste in your mouth that people who have a hangover
Yeah.
usually develop, you throw a hot pepper in there, right from the
Yeah.
get-go with a cup of coffee, and therein lies the relief.
Is that right?
Yeah, I've heard.
Well, I don't drink anymore, but if I do, I'll. Bernie's laughing.
See, he's tried it. That's why he knows.
Bernie must know a few remedies. I bet you he knows a couple remedies. Oh yeah.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
You
You're
like
talking-
them?
Oh God, fantastic.
Yeah. That's a nice. We do that every year. My wife and I and my Aunt Stella. I gave her a bottle to put them to the test, and she said they were okay. So, well,
We're getting the 5-minute signal already. We gotta get the recipe. I'm
okay,
sitting
we'll
there
get
eating
the
it.
recipe. I'm sorry about that.
No.
You enjoy that, and
Fantastic.
I'll give you the recipe on chicken cutlet marsala. The first thing you need is 2 to 2.5 pounds of chicken, boneless chicken breast, and you want to cut that into cutlets.
That's the hottest part.
Salt and pepper to taste. 2 to 3 tablespoons of olive oil. About 6 tablespoons of sweet unsalted butter. A cup of flour. 2 garlic cloves. 1.5 tablespoons of dried rosemary. About 1.5 cups of Marsala wine. That's a Sicilian wine,
Marsala Sicilian?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. You're Sicilian, right? 100%.
Well, my father was Sicilian.
What was your mother?
She was Calatran.
Calitran. Oh, that's a nice mix.
Yeah. 1 tablespoon of minced parsley. Okay, those are the ingredients. The first thing you do, slice the chicken breast into cutlets. You should get about 3 cutlets to a breast. Pound them thin between 2 sheets of wax paper and set them aside. Lightly salt and pepper each cutlet. Dredge them in flour, shaking off any excess. Heat a good stainless steel skillet. And when it's hot, add a tablespoon of olive oil and a tablespoon of butter. When that butter stops, completely melts and stops sizzling, that's when you want to add your cutlets. Now, you don't want to crowd the pan.
Never.
No, don't crowd the pan. Otherwise, they're not going to brown right. So you may have to do this in batches, which I had to do. When you get them done and they're all brown, you set them aside on a heated platter. And you could refresh your pan with each batch with another tablespoon of olive oil and another tablespoon of butter.
Yeah, you got
should you need to do that. You don't want the pan to be too dry.
No.
Okay? So once everything is browned, all the chicken cutlets are browned, at that point you want to add 2 garlic cloves, chop them up. You want a coarse chop, and you want a tablespoon and a half of dried rosemary. Saute that for about 2 minutes, and then add your Marsala wine and scrape everything nice with a wooden spoon.
You're old school. Only wooden.
Yeah. Well, you don't want to scrape. You don't want to.
The Teflon?
Well, oh no, not Teflon, stainless steel. But you don't want to scratch your pan.
Okay.
So I use the wooden spoon, scrape all the particles up. Did we add the Marsala wine?
I don't know. I'm just nodding my head,
Saute
pretending I'm listening. I'm enjoying
Oh,
the
you add the
supper.
garlic and the rosemary. Do that for 2.5 to 3 minutes. Then you add the Marsala wine. Then you scrape nice, and you allow that to come to a boil. Put the cutlets back in the wine. Drop it to a simmer. Cover it, and let the cutlets simmer in the wine for 15 to 20 minutes. Okay? At that point, add your remaining butter, a tablespoon at a time, off heat.
Off heat.
Yeah, because the sauce will break if it starts. Your sauce will curdle if it starts to boil. So you want to get off the heat. Add your butter, let it melt into the Marsala wine. Remove the cutlets to a warm platter, and then you strain the sauce over it, because you want to strain out those garlic cloves and that as much of the rosemary. Now you see there's still rosemary there, but you want to strain out as much of that as you can. So you strain the sauce over the cutlets. Garnish with minced parsley. And bon appetit. You got a nice dinner.
Again, thank you from the bottom of my stomach.
Oh, my wife has been after me. You got to bring those people a little something. You never.
Thank you.
But see,
Pudgy, thank
ordinarily I come right from work, so I don't have that opportunity to go home and
Well, you just let me know. I'll work
So
my
today
schedule
I
around
was
your work
off.
schedule.
I was off today. I thought, well, this would be a nice opportunity to put a little something together.
Thank you so much,
And-
honestly.
No, it's not.
You are a good man, much better than myself.
Nothing.
And it's an honor to have you here while I eat the Marsala. John, I'm not sure if he's going to be able to sing because he just ate a hot pepper, but he looks to be okay. Thank you, sir, again.
Oh, Lorenzo, you're entirely welcome.
We'll go to Corkscrews and check out John
Yeah, I'd love
soon.
to do that.
10:30 on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We have the Riverfest on May 7th, and make sure you check that out. We'll see you there. I'll be there as well. Little hot peppers, some chicken marsala. This is Stories, Wisdom, and Recipes. My name is Lawrence Pugliese. Thank you to Bernie McGurl. Thank you to Mark and Melissa and John Phillips. I want to say right now, start doing your research for voting season. You know, who has the nicest signs and the largest number of signs. That's not who you want to vote for, right? The issues. Look at the issues. And vote for the best candidate in your estimation. We'll see you at the ballpark or the neighborhood gathering spot soon, hopefully. And we like to send out our compassion, our love, our respect, and our sympathies to all the friends and family of Timothy Hopkins here on Stories, Wisdom, and Recipes. We're with you. We love you all. He was a great man, and he will not be forgotten. And after saying that, I don't know what else to say, but between now and the next time, remember your stories, wisdom, and recipes. It's a pleasure to have you with us. Once again, the music of John Phillips. See you next time.
There's a bottle filled with of you. Were you ever really conscious? Or was I living life for you? There's another shadow in August. You keep saying it's blocking the view. It's too shallow in the water above us. I keep drowning in the thoughts of you. There's a wandering eye in your reason, and it doesn't see me for what I am. It's just waiting for the change in the seasons, but it's lacking in your master plan. There's another shadow in August. You keep saying it's blocking the view. It's too shallow in the water above us. I keep drowning in the thoughts of you. There's a broken bottle of promises, and it's been sleeping in your eyes since June. There's another shadow in August, and you keep saying it's blood.